Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online regulation VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. Recently, one of the most genius team builders in competitive Pokemon VGC, Jamie Boyt, finished 9th out of over 500 players in a major tournament in Europe, and he used a team with Galarian Articuno to do it. He recently modified the team to optimize for Galarian Articuno even more, and I had to try it out. I think Galarian Articuno is one of the most anti-meta underrated Pokemon right now, and that's for a couple of reasons. First of all, it has access to competitive for its ability, allowing you to get free special attack boosts when your stats are dropped. That's really valuable given the amount of Intimidators that are around right now, especially H-Arcanine and Landorus. We also currently are in a metagame where there's a lot of different Tailwind teams, especially Tornadus teams, and Galarian Articuno gets access to Trick Room, allowing you to reverse the speeds, which is super valuable. Finally, Galarian Articuno is just not used very commonly, and so people generally don't have good experience fighting against it. As a result, it's really easy to misplay against this Pokemon, and I think that this Pokemon can just really catch opposing teams off guard. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below. And if you enjoy, I'd really appreciate it if you consider leaving a like in the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Let's get started. First of all, just for some quick context, this team finished 9th place out of 526 players at the Gdansk Regional Championship, which took place at the end of November. Jamie actually had a good enough record to advance on to the top 8, but lost on tiebreakers to Nils, and so Jamie did not advance further on into the final elimination stage, but it's really cool seeing him perform so well. He got top 4 at the Toronto Regional Championships recently as well, and he's one of the most creative team builders that the game has ever seen, and so it's cool to see him continue to innovate and bring really spicy things to tournaments. So yeah, just wanted to quickly highlight this event. I'll link the results for this tournament down in the description below if you want to check out all the other teams. Breaking things down, as always, Rental, Pace, and Team Creator are linked down in the description below. Jamie actually posted a really incredible in-depth team report for this on YouTube, so please go check that out. I'll link it down in the description below. He gives incredible insight into how the team came together and all the individual EV spreads and what they do. This is going to be more of a high-level summary of the team. Now, I was drawn to this team because of Articuno. Articuno, I think, is one of the most underrated Pokemon in the format right now. Its usage is super low, but we're in a format that has a lot of Intimidate users, including Landorus, Therian, and H-Arcanine, so it's quite common for competitive to get activated just through that. It's also a Pokemon that people just don't really have too much experience fighting against. Jamie used a slightly different version of Galarian Articuno at the regional championships. He had Calm Mind and Recover over Trick Room and Protect, but he mentioned after the tournament that Trick Room and Protect would just be more optimal for this set, and I absolutely agree. I have utilized Trick Room so much while playing with this team, and I think it actually dramatically changes how the team is used, and I think it's one of the best tools on Galarian Articuno's toolkit. The general idea, first of all, is that you have really nice coverage behind Freezing Glare and Ground Tera Tera Blast. Ground Tera Tera Blast, really valuable into a lot of Pokemon that are weak to it, like Golden Gold, like H-Arcanine. Even though you have Trick Room on Galarian Articuno, this is actually still a pretty fast Pokemon, right? Base 95 speed, and so you often will be outspeeding Golden Ghosts and H-Arcanines if they don't have speed investment, for example, and you are also able to steal pressure with Trick Room. As you'll notice, this team is actually not really that slow, and Iron Hands is like the slowest base speed Pokemon, but you actually have a ton of speed investment on it. This is really to optimize for Tailwind because you've got Roaring Moon. I believe Jamie mentioned in his team report that it was specifically to help out against Dondozo, so wanted to make sure that you outspeed Dondozo when you have Tailwind up. But general idea is that there are a lot of Tailwind teams in the format right now, other Roaring Moons, Tornaduses, for example, and so that's where Trick Room on Articuno on this set really comes handy. It's got a ton of bulk, as you can see, and it also has Rocky Helmet. Rocky Helmet's nice because it just turns a Pokemon into something that has a much better Water Urshifu matchup, and that, of course, is one of the most dominant Pokemon right now, and so the idea is that you, of course, have the Rocky Helmet to just let Urshifu take a lot of damage, and it's often a really worthwhile trade, even if Surging Strikes like KO's Articuno, they lose a lot of their health if they've committed their Tera, for example, then you can finish it off with something in the back. And Freezing Glare is just a really nice move. Like, obviously, when you click it, you're mainly just going for damage, but the 10% chance to freeze is something that can bail you out of bad positions as well. So mainly I bring Galarian Articuno in matchups where I think setting up Trick Room is really valuable. If they have Water Urshifu in Team Preview, then I'm more inclined to consider bringing it as well. And I think that if they have a lot of Pokemon that are weak to Psychic and Ground, then it's also worthwhile, right? Psychic coverage is really nice. You hit fighting types are super effective, so like Urshifu and Iron Hands, for example. And overall, this is a Pokemon that, once again, people just don't have that much experience fighting against, so I found that a lot of my opponents just misplay against it because they've just not seen it in this format whatsoever. But even if you knew what this set does, I think competitive plus this unique coverage plus having access to Trick Room is a really nice combination. The other Pokemon that's going to set up speed for this team is Speed Booster Roaring Moon. This is a set that Jamie utilized at the Toronto Regional Championships as well, and it's just a fast Roaring Moon that can be really disruptive with Breaking Swipe. Roaring Moon has an incredible base attack stat, so Knockoff and Breaking Swipe actually still do meaningful damage, but you should see this more as a support-oriented set where it's designed to kind of enable the rest of the team. Poison Tera here exists defensively. You obviously often see Flying Tera on Roaring Moon with Acrobatics, but this is not that kind of set. And Breaking Swipe, I cannot stress how valuable of a move it is into all these physical attackers that exist in the format. Knockoff is honestly really nice because you're often going to be moving first, and so getting rid of your opponent's item before they're able to attack, I think, is really sweet. This team also has a lot of very strong attackers. The more standard ones, of course, are H-Arcanine and Arcanine. The main thing to note here is that you've got Fairy, Tera, Tera Blast. Also, one thing to note here is the speed stats from all of these Pokemon. As you can see, H-Arcanine and Arcanine is 126 speed, Urshifu here is 122, Articuno is 123. So they're EV'd pretty intentionally. This way you know exactly who's going to be outspeeding who, and they all hit around the same speed tier stat as well. But yeah, the Arcanine here just does massive amounts of damage, and of course is an Intimidator. This is one of the most goated Pokemon in the format right now, and it's just super strong. The remaining three are Goldengo, Iron Hands, and Water Urshifu. None of these are really crazy unorthodox Pokemon. Articuno is what really makes this team stand out, but the sets are still actually pretty interesting. For example, this Goldengo is really fast. Mod is 212 speed EVs. As Goldengo continuously becomes used in this format, I think people will continue to speed creep. And so recently, when people have been using Goldengo, the speed stat has just been getting higher and higher, and so Jamie wanted to get even higher to outpace the Goldengos that people were already using. And what makes this set unique is that you've got Life Orb and Steel Tera, but you're still Nasty Plot. Most Goldengos that are Nasty Plot in the format will use, for example, Dragon Tera defensively and have leftovers and have more bulk invested. This Goldengo says, I can Nasty Plot, but I also can just go Steel Tera, make it rain immediately. That's a really nice combination with Roaring Moon, because sometimes you'll just be in positions where you lead Roaring Moon Goldengo, Tailwind immediately, and then just Steel Tera, make it rain to pick up some quick knockouts. I think the thing is that this just hits so much harder than your Dragon Tera defensive Goldengos with Nasty Plot, and so it's nice because you just pressure with a lot more damage immediately. Iron Hands is the next one, and this set is pretty interesting because, first of all, you have a ton of speed investment. Normally, with Iron Hands, you'll see a lot of attack and special defense investment. The speed here, as I mentioned, was something that Jamie devised to beat Dondozo in particular, but it's just nice because Iron Hands under Tailwind will outpace a lot of things that your opponents generally won't anticipate, and the speed just catches opponents off guard often. The one other thing to note here is that you have Ice Punch as well as Ice Tera. It's nice for a couple of reasons, but Dragon Tera is one of the most common Teras right now, and Jamie's logic for this is, you know, with Iron Hands, you're normally going for a Tera type that's defensive in order to not take super effective damage from hits, and so like Flutter Mane and Fairy type attacks is one example, right? Well, Ice is still neutral to Fairy, and with this you're able to increase your damage output with Ice Punch as well and catch opponents off guard with that. The final Pokemon is Urshifu, and this Urshifu set is really unique because of how much bulk it has. Jamie is a genius team builder and EV spread creator, and if you watched him play at some of the recent regional championships on stream, you'll notice just how clutch the Urshifu was. It took so many attacks I wouldn't have expected it to survive, and that's because who normally has this much bulk on Urshifu, right? Most people invest primarily in attack and speed. This is completely unorthodox and unexpected for what people generally expect, and so you still do massive amounts of damage with the Surging Strikes plus Splash Blade combination, but you'll notice some other tech moves here. You have Ice Spinner and Substitute instead of Close Combat and Aqua Jet. Sub is a really nice move against things like Amoonguss as well as Trick Room compositions, and Ice Spinner is nice because first of all, it hits things that normally wall Urshifu, right? Dragon types, Amoonguss, for example, for super effective damage, and it also can get rid of terrain, and we're in a format where Rillaboom and Indeedee are used a fair amount, right? So I think it's really interesting, but it makes a lot of sense, and Sub with this amount of bulk in particular is incredibly valuable. So a lot of different ways that you can play with the team, but I generally look towards getting speed control either through Tailwind or Trick Room and asking myself which is kind of the most viable means of speed control, which one should I commit to, and then how do I play the game from that point on, right? So some sample leads you can consider. I think if you want to just go with immediate offense, Roaring Moon with anything on this team I think is really good because it just pressures with Tailwind immediately, but Roaring Moon Goldengo exerts a lot of offensive pressure because you have the spread Make It Rain. Roaring Moon Arcanine get an initial Intimidate off. Against physically oriented teams, like this is really nice because you can just go for Breaking Swipe and Intimidate, and suddenly your opponent's physical attackers are at -2 attack right to start the game, which is really nice. If you want to look towards setting up Trick Room, I think something like Iron Hands Articuno is nice because you can fake out in a Trick Room. Articuno plus the Arcanine is also nice because you intimidate your opponent's physical attacker, so with that plus the amount of bulk that you have, Articuno can take attacks really well. Those are some leads that I've gone with. But yeah, I think like I generally look towards leading Articuno or Roaring Moon often if I think speed is really necessary. Otherwise, you can consider like Iron Hands Golden Go, just fake out into Nasty Plot or Arcanine Golden Go, get that Nasty Plot off and start sweeping. So yeah, that's it for a breakdown. But once again, if you want to learn more about the specific EV spreads, check out Jamie's video. In terms of things that I've run into that have given me trouble, the first is just Water Ogerpon. I think a well-played Water Ogerpon with redirection support with Follow Me, as well as offense with Ivy Cudgel and strong partners next to it, have been fairly difficult. And that's because you don't have something like Acrobatics on Roaring Moon or Close Combat on Urshifu. So, you know, your best means of dealing damage into our like Close Combat / Wild Charge from hand, Shadow Ball from Golden Go, maybe Flare Blitzing it, but then if it Teras, obviously that can be really scary. And so, yeah, that's just one Pokemon in particular that I've run into a couple times that has not been the easiest to fight against. I think one other thing to think about is that the speed tiers on this team, as I mentioned earlier, are fairly unique. And so I've had games where I get my speed control up in the early game, but then don't really match it really well and like take advantage of it enough. And then my opponent just outspeeds me in the end game and just overwhelms me. That's happened a couple of times, and I think that can be really scary when you're going up against fairly fast-paced Pokemon. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You've got a lot of incredible bulk on this team, but you know, you are still vulnerable to just taking a lot of super effective damage. I think one of the ways I've lost with this team is just not doing a good job of using Tera earlier on. I have games where it's like Roaring Moon just faints immediately because I don't poison Tera, gets knocked out by like a fighting or a fairy type attack, and then it sets me back pretty significantly, and then like it's too late for my Teras to really do much in the end game. It's also important to note that because of some of these unique sets, like if you're used to using super bulky Iron Hands, well, you're not going to have as much bulk here, so keep that in mind. And not having close combat on Urshifu essentially changes some of the matchups that you might be used to as well. And so yeah, those are just a couple of things that I've run into that have given me some trouble. And one last thing to note is critical hits can be really scary because with this team you have Intimidate from Arcanine and the Breaking Swipe, and you have a lot of bulk. But I had one game where I got my opponent's Iron Hands down into like -3 attack, and then Drain Punch onto a full HP Arcanine, got a crit, knocked it out immediately, and that set me back pretty significantly. So you have to just keep in mind, like, crits can happen, and it can feel bad when you put in a lot of work to reduce your opponent's damage output, but that's one thing that I had struggled against in a couple practice matches as well. Alright, we've got Urshifu, Tornadus, Hisuian Arcanine, Rillaboom, Golden Go, and Landorus. This is a team that I have recently featured on the channel, or if not the exact same team, a variant of it. And it's a team that just finished ranked #1 in the previous ranked season. So super consistent, super strong. You've just got ridiculous firepower across the board. And Landorus Incarnate is pretty interesting in particular because of its ability to just dish out massive amounts of damage. So I think Galarian Articuno is really interesting here because it can pressure with Trick Room, and it can also soak up damage from like Surging Strike's Urshifu. This is a really defensive Articuno. Definitely want to respect Landorus as an option from their end, and I think Golden Go is going to be a pretty big issue with Nasty Plot, so we're really going to want to respect that in particular. It's Dragon Tera Golden Go with Nasty Plot. What do I want to lead with? I like putting on pressure with our Golden Go immediately with Hisuian Arcanine, I think. Landorus looks pretty good into this team comp, so gotta show that some respect. Actually, because of that, I'm thinking Articuno plus Iron Hands. Look for a Trick Room angle here with this duo. And then in the back, Golden Go and Hisuian Arcanine. I think Urshifu can be brought into this battle as well. But yeah, if it's the version of the ranked #1 team that I was talking about, I just featured on the channel. So if you want to see me play with it, check out the video link down in the description below. The key things to note for that team are Rain Dance and Protect, Rocky Helmet on Tornadus, as well as Leftovers, Dragon Tera, Golden Go, Normal Tera, Choice Band, Extreme Speed on Hisuian Arcanine. Okay, so it is going to be Golden Go plus Tornadus lead. That's fine with me. I think in this position, I'm happy to just Trick Room and just launch Wild Charge immediately into Golden Go. Part of the reason why Articuno is really nice on this team is because normally the way that you mitigate Iron Hands' damage output is to Intimidate it, but if you bring out an Intimidator, well, that activates our competitive. So in this position, I would expect my opponent to consider going for something like a Tailwind or Bleak Wind Storm and then Nasty Plot with Golden Go. So my goal here is to just burst damage on a Golden Go. And if they end up going for Tailwind, Okay, it's a variant of the team. So they actually have Taunt on the Tornadus, which is a pretty big game changer here. And Specs Golden Go. Okay, a lot of tricks immediately. They're going to take my Assault Vest. This is one thing that's really valuable, right? Taking a team that's well known and just changing the sets up completely. But honestly, not a terrible turn 1 for us, right? Like, you have Assault Vest now. So you can angle for something like Shadow Ball onto Articuno. But to be honest, I can just go for a double knockout right now if I Tera this. Tera Blast Golden Go, Wild Charge Tornadus. I don't hate going for that, but I'm a little bit worried about my Landorus-I matchup afterwards, if so. Alright, let's go for it. Tera, Tera Blast, and Wild Charge. Yeah, so essentially in this position, I didn't go for Fake Out onto Tornadus because the initial version of this team has Protect. Torn pivots out, okay. Into Arcanine, which activates competitive. I will take that gladly. I'm going to guess they're just Shadow Balling that slot. Wonder if Wild Charge would have knocked out Golden Go. I think he would have hung out just with a Sliver, but its HP looks really close. Either way, the Articuno's in a pretty interesting spot right now. I think my big question is their last Pokemon Landorus. We're also just faster than Golden Go, which is really nice here. Sweet. So, I get a competitive +2 Tera Blast, and that just knocks Golden Go out. I think that's one thing that makes Articuno pretty unique as well, right? Like, it is actually got really solid base speed. So, my opponent managed to activate competitive, and they weren't able to deal damage on Articuno before we were able to move. So, that's part of the value of Ground Tera Blast. It's going to be Urshifu as their last one. Okay. Now, we have the Rocky Helmet, which is a pretty big deal. But the question is... you should Surging Strikes here. I could see Arcanine going for Fairy Tera Blast onto Iron Hands. Late game Extreme Speed from this is really valuable in my opinion. I could switch Articuno out, but to be honest, I think it's fine to just let it get knocked out here and then put Urshifu ideally in KO range. So I'm going to target that and then switch Arcanine into this slot. Then the idea is I'll pivot Iron Hands back in and have Fake Out plus Extreme Speed Pressure. Yeah, like, I had to go for the Ground Tera Blast if I wanted to knock out Golden Goat last turn, which obviously opens up the weakness into Urshifu, but that's fine. This is where Rocky Helmet's really valuable. I think another thing I could have considered was Articuno out into Arcanine, Wild Charge into Urshifu. They're going to Tera Urshifu, okay. That's fine. It means that you can't go for something like Fairy Tera Blast with your Golden Go. Sorry, with your Arcanine, which is a pretty big deal. They actually went for E-Speed. Are they doubling into that slot? Oh, interesting. Okay, I'll take that. Articuno just continues to get Free Fire off. Sweet. To be honest, I think that probably just loses my opponent the game, because even if this doesn't knock out, I just bring Arcanine out and I can Extreme Speed with that. And yeah, Articuno just gets the knockout. I'm really surprised they ignored that slot, but I think they were predicting that my Articuno definitely switches out there. So if I were to put myself in my opponent's POV, they're probably thinking, hey, I think that you are going to switch out, and I'm going to try to capitalize by getting a big read and then knocking out the Iron Hands, because I think if I had a good defensive switch in for Articuno, I would have considered it. But the way I saw it there is it's like if Articuno faints, because of Rocky Helmet, you still lose a lot of your health, and then I would get a free switch back into Iron Hands and then Fake Out Pressure with it. I think now we can just go out pretty safely into Hands. Yeah, and they bring out Torn, which we obviously know about. And I think I can just Fake Out Torn, Trick Room, and then Tera Blast. Honestly, or just Tera Blast right now. We might be faster. It may have been safer to click Fake Out into Arcanine, because I guess the Tornadus here could be the Covert Cloak. But that barely dents us, yeah. And they take Rocky Helmet damage as well. It was Covert Cloak, actually. but doesn't really make too much of a difference. Misses Articuno, but to be honest, like, with the Arcanine choiced into extreme speed, or choice locked into extreme speed, not much you can do. So Articuno put on a clinic in this game. I did not expect to get this much value out of it, right? In the end, it's going to pick up every knockout in this game, likely. I thought it was going to faintly Urshifu that turn for sure, but my opponent kind of ignoring it allowed it to just fully sweep. And turn 1 of this game did not go how I expected it to, right? Because my opponent's using the same 6 as a team that just dominated the ladder, but they changed the sets pretty substantially, having both Taunt on the Tornadus, as well as the... we're locked in a fake out, so we switch out. Taunt on the Tornadus, as well as the Trick Golden Go, because the initial version of this team has Nasty Plot, Leftovers Dragon Tera. So, yeah, that's one really smart thing you can do to modify a meta team, because your opponents will expect a certain kind of set. Bleak Wind is funny here, by the way, because it could just activate competitive. And it would have been really happy. I would have been really happy to see that, but Freezing Glare might just get the knockout here anyway. Articuno picked up every knockout in this game. I was expecting to do some work. I mainly brought it as a Trick Room user, but this thing can absolutely dominate teams offensively with Psychic Ground coverage if people misplay into it. And so that's one of the nice things, right? We play in a format that has a lot of Intimidate right now. Arcanine eats up those Intimidates, or sorry, Articuno eats up those Intimidates from Arcanine and is able to just potentially sweep through teams fully. I think this game would look pretty differently if they just click Surging Strikes into Articuno, but like I said, I think my opponent was probably expecting me to switch the Articuno into Water Urshifu. Quite frankly, I think bringing Water Urshifu over Golden Go is an adjustment I would make in a best of 3. Didn't end up being super relevant in this game, but Golden Go didn't feel super strong. They didn't bring Landorus either, which I thought was really good into our composition, and Urshifu at least gives us a slightly better matchup into it, because it pressures with Surging Strikes and Ice Spinner as well. So, yeah, example of a game in which we win, but there's still ways to adjust our play, because I don't think Golden Go really would have contributed too much value, and I realized how Landorus weak I was in general. Okay, we've got another Tornadus comp here. Tornadus, Urshifu, Golden Go, Hands, Hisuian, Arcanine, Water Ogerpon. Water Ogerpon is a Pokemon I've struggled a little bit fighting against just because we can't knock it out super quickly. Roaring Moon is interesting because I can pressure with Tailwind, but if they wanted to counteract that, they could go something like Tornadus Urshifu. I like leading Articuno a lot here, honestly. I'm thinking Articuno Roaring Moon for this one. Iron Hands, Hisuian Arcanine. Nasty Plug Golden Go is not bad here, but with Steel Tera, we're a little bit weaker offensively, so I'm gonna try this out. Roaring Moon Articuno is interesting because, like, you have different means of speed control. But, for example, like, if I feel like my opponent's gonna commit to Tailwind, I can just try to set up a Trick Room with Articuno and then pivot Roaring Moon out. I think players generally won't respect Trick Room as much of an option from Articuno if I'm leading it with Roaring Moon. But one thing I could do is just pivot Roaring Moon immediately into Iron Hands and then go from there. It is going to be Torn Urshifu, okay. Yeah, I mean, so with the Rocky Helmet on Articuno here, things are pretty interesting. I can match Tailwind by clicking Tailwind on our Roaring Moon. I don't know if I really need a Tailwind on turn 1, though. Essentially, one thing I can do is Breaking Swipe. If Articuno faints, then I just bring out the Urshifu, sorry, my Arcanine, then Extreme Speed into Urshifu. It's not a bad angle for Trick Room, honestly. Okay, I think I'm going to go Knockoff plus the Freezing Glare. They Tailwind and they don't Tera. So I'm thinking you're close combating into... Oh, it's going to be U-turn. Okay. If it's U-turn, then that should be Choice Scarf on Urshifu, I'm pretty sure. But not a bad turn for us because I bait out the Tailwind and I get a knockoff off into this slot. If it's something like Golden Go coming out, that'd be amazing. It's Arcanine! They're going to activate competitive! Oh my gosh. Okay, we take those. Should just get a knockout onto that slot, then, I would think. It's Choice Band, so good to confirm that item. Trick Room here, I feel like would have been game-winning on turn 1, though, so maybe was worth considering. But in my head, I was like, if I knock out the Urshifu on turn 1, that opens this game up for me. So it was, I think, worth considering. This is super interesting now. Okay. So I could set up my own Tailwind. I don't even know how valuable that is, though, because, like, our Pokemon are still going to be slower. So, from this angle, I'm thinking it might actually just be better to try to Trick Room. Now, if I'm my opponent, though, I think I'm going likely Bleak Wind Storm and then Surging Strikes, or Rain Dance Water Tera Surging Strikes, but this is where Rocky Helmet's a big deal. So, I'm happy to actually just Freezing Glare and knock off again. I don't want to Tailwind with Roaring Moon because I've got slower Pokemon in the back anyway. They're going to commit to Tera here, but the Rocky Helmet on Galarian Articuno is such a big deal. Because we'll be able to get the Rocky Helmet damage off, and if I get the knockoff, and then I have Extreme Speed Arcanine as well, like, yeah, you do a lot of damage into the Articuno here, but that's fine. Yep, it's going to be Surging Strikes. Cool. And as you can see here, we're going to get 3 full hits of Rocky Helmet, which is huge. Because, like I said, it should be Choice Scarf Urshifu, given that they U-turned on turn 1. So, actually, well, I guess we'll be able to confirm that with knockoff, right? It's not going to get the KO, but it's fine. Extreme Speed has higher priority than your Aqua Jet. Yep, there's the Scarf. Confirmed. Cool. Now we bring out... You know, I could just bring out Iron Hands and Fake Out instead, right? But I think locking into E-Speed here is fine right now. This is also an angle to start considering Tailwind. I think it's also interesting because if you're my opponent, you maybe consider switching out Urshifu, but I could make the read and just target Torn instead. Because I think Water Ogre Pawn being their last one makes a lot of sense. Golden Go is what I'm worried about, but I think it's fine to just Extreme Speed the Urshifu slot and knock off into it. Banded E-Speed is just so good right now, and Hisuian Arcanine has been one of the best Pokemon in this format, and part of the reason for that is because of its matchup into Tornadus. And they are going to just let me knock out Urshifu, which is fantastic. Okay, great. Late game Iron Hands is looking pretty sweet right now as well. But I still have to respect Water Ogre Pawn. I think it's pretty scary as an option. We're going to go for Bleak Wind. Yep. Speed Drop, which doesn't feel great. Get knockoff into Torn. Your Covert Cloak. Okay. What's the last one? Iron Hands. Okay, I'm really happy to see that. I was a little bit worried about a Water Ogre Pawn endgame from their end, but with Iron Hands being their final one, I think what we can do here, last turn of Tailwind, we've gotten rid of your Covert Cloak. So I can pivot in my Iron Hands and protect here. And then I can go for Fake Out onto Torn, or just Wild Charge, honestly, onto it, and then pivot Hisuian Arcanine back in, and then go for Tera. Articuno just got so much value from that turn 1, right? Like, we got a free knockout with competitive activating, so... Once again, we're just in a format where there's a lot of ways for competitive to activate. Yeah, they just Fake Out Bleak Wind, which is fine. Still haven't Terra'd yet. The most valuable Pokemon to Tera in this spot is probably going to be the Arcanine. Speed Drop onto that. Tailwind peters out. I am happy to just Wild Charge into Torn and Breaking Swipe. Actually, I should Tailwind, I think. I don't think it makes too much of a difference with Hisuian Arcanine in the back. They're going to Tailwind. You're probably going to knock out my Torn, but then it's going to be... Or sorry, you're going to knock out my Roaring Moon. But I also get Tailwind up. Yeah. So, Drain Punch knocks out Roaring Moon, but now it's a 2v1 Hisuian Arcanine and Iron Hands. So, we should be good here. Shoutouts to Galarian Articuno, though. I can't believe that turn 1. That was a dream for us, honestly. Because my opponent didn't necessarily need it. They could have stayed in and just gone for Rain Dance, Water Tera, Tailwind immediately, right? Or Rain Dance, Surging Strikes, and then Tailwind the next turn. But that was kind of the theory where it's like, okay, if you go commit that many resources, Articuno, sure, will take a lot of damage, and it will faint. But then I get the knockoff, and then you're just an Extreme Speed KO range, and so that's kind of how I was thinking of playing turn 1. But now we can just close combat, Fairy, Tera Blast. So, yeah, turn 1 didn't play it how I expected it to, but it ended up being even better. And having Rocky Helmet is just such a fantastic item on the Articuno. Because, like you saw, my opponent committed a lot of resources to get the knockout in the end, right? They went for Rain Dance and went for Tera, so those are two big resources that you're giving up, right? The opportunity cost of Tornadus going for another move instead of Rain Dance, and then committing your Tera as well. Choice Band Tera Blast almost just gets the one-hit knockout onto Iron Hands. Drain Punch, we resist, and we've intimidated you. Even if you Heavy Slam and potentially knock out Arcanine, Close Combat is just going to finish off their hands. This is one of the nice things about Iron Hands having Close Combat as well. It just does a lot more damage than Drain Punch. I think most people are used to Drain Punch calcs, but Close Combat is not a move that you see as frequently on Iron Hands. So you can really catch opposing players off guard with it as well. But yeah, Articuno was just fantastic for us here. Okay, cool team here. Another Hisuian Arcanine, but Sylveon, Galarian, Moltres. I wonder if it's potentially Quick Attack and a Weakness policy. It's it definitely feels like a very Galarian Moltres-centric team. Articuno is very bad into Moltres. I'm not sure we want to bring it at all. Could still be okay. Rocky Helmet has less utility in this battle as well, though. Like, yeah, I'm really actually concerned about Moltres. Especially if it's Quick Attack Sylveon with Moltres, we are in a lot of trouble. Iron Hands is going to be very important because of Assault Vest and our ability to resist a lot of attacks. Iron Hands. Maybe it's Iron Hands Golden Go, because I can fake out Galarian Moltres Nasty Plot with this combo. I don't think Roaring Moon's really that good here. Urshifu with Splash Plate's alright. But I think I actually still am going to bring Articuno and then Arcanine in the back. Yeah, the idea behind Articuno here is I'll be able to have it as a late game option potentially with Trick Room. Because I think Iron Hands plus Articuno is a pretty strong combo, but I didn't want to lead it. Cinderace and Sylveon, huh? Okay, I mean, what's stopping Fake Out into Cinderace? And make it rain. I'm down for that. I don't want a Nasty Plot here because I don't have a defensive Tera with Golden Go. I think it's maybe worth considering, but like, let's say Cinderace just protects, Sylveon Hyper Voices, gets chip damage on the Golden Go. I'm worried about, like, then even if I Nasty Plot the next turn I pivot in Hisuian Arcanine, they still get the knockout onto us. Cinderace is not a common Pokemon at all. I actually don't think I fought it in this regulation at all. It was quite good in Sword and Shield for a while, thanks to Dynamax. It was able to, you know, max Airstream, has an incredible ability to get same type attack bonus damage as well. But, okay, they're going to let me click Fake Out into it. Sylveon doesn't Tera or Switch either, which is really shocking. But it's Babiri Berry, which makes sense. Okay. Really good damage, but I can't help but wonder if I should have Shadow Balled the Cinderace instead. I'm going to get Hyper Voiced right now. Oh! Wow, okay, they go for Yawn. I will happily take that. I will very happily take that. Yeah, I just don't really know my damage calcs from Cinderace on a Golden Go. Like, what I want to do is just pivot in Arcanine right now and then click Make It Rain. But I think pivot in Arcanine and then Protect is also an option. The problem is if I'm my opponent, I'm maybe clicking Yawn into the Iron Hand slot again. So I could consider a double pivot right now. Okay, I'm going to go Hands and Arcanine, just click Make It Rain, and if Cinderace ends up dealing enough damage, then it's a good calc to know. Basically, what I don't want to do is, yeah, Protect and then Arcanine gets Yawn, because then I'm just kind of in an awkward spot the subsequent turn as well. So, we'll see how much damage Cinderace does. I really don't know this calc. Nice. Golden Go survives. That's huge. Should be a double KO then. Oh, no, Cinderace survives with the Sliver. Okay. We did have the special attack drop, but honestly, I thought that would get the knockout, but I guess Fake Out did do a lot of meaningful chip damage. But I'll take it at the end of the day. Now I have extreme speed pressure onto the Cinderace slot. I think we just bring out... it's actually tempting to bring out Articuno right now if they misstep and then bring out their Hisuian Arcanine. I'm down to potentially bait it. It would make me... Like, if we somehow got a competitive boost here... Oh, my goodness. That is... Gonna be Sinistcha? Okay. Alright, that's fine. Sinistcha, huh. I mean, you're intimidated, so I don't think I'm that scared of you. Did they... Like, what is their last one? I thought it'd be Galarian Moltres for sure. This being Dragon Tera makes sense. Weird spot. Okay, I'm gonna pivot in hands here and just Freezing Glare. I don't know if that was the best play, though. Because I don't think Cinderace is actually that scary. I thought about just Flare Blitzing into Sinistcha. Is that switching into Moltres now? Yeah. Okay. High jump kick. Makes sense. Not too much damage, though. We'll get the knockout onto that slot. See, this is where things get a little scary, though, because, like, I guess Fairy, Tera, Hisuian Arcanine's pretty beast in this endgame, though, and I have Ice Punch on the, Iron Hands as well. I'm mainly thinking about what Tera this is, but I think, Dragon, Poison both make sense. I do also have Ice Tera, Ice Punch for increased damage onto Sinistcha. I wonder if that KOs. But I don't want to give up the resistance to Dark, so I'm going to double up on Sinistcha here. If I were them, I would probably Rage Powder and Nasty Plot or Trick Room Nasty Plot. Moltres being boosted is a little bit scary, but with Fairy, Tera, Hisuian Arcanine in the back, and AV Iron Hands, I think we're in an okay spot. I think Ice Tera actually would have gotten the KO. Oh, they actually just offer Fiery Wrath. Okay. Nice. I'll take that. Okay, Iron Hands gets Ice Punch. Yeah, Ice Tera would have gotten the KO there. But now if you Trick Room, I can just Ice Tera. Aqua Fairy. Ooh, it's Machagacha. Okay, that could burn us. That's scary. Burn is the main thing I'm worried about right now. Let's see, do they get it? No burn. Okay, nice. Given that this is the slowest thing, I think it's fine to just commit our Tera now. Ice Punch into Sinistcha. And Tera Blast into Moltres. The main thing is we still don't know what Tera-type Moltres is. And by going for Tera here, yeah, I wish I just Tera'd last turn. I should have had more conviction. I didn't know what the Ice Punch damage calc would look like on Sinistcha specifically. But if I had done that, it would have mitigated a burn chance. So we got lucky that a burn didn't happen there. The way around it was to just Tera, and Ice Punch would deal enough damage to get the knockout with the increase in damage, I think. So then you don't get the Machagacha off. It's a 3v1. You didn't set up Nasty Plot or Trick Room. It's going to be Tera, though, on Sinistcha. Steel? Water. Okay. That's a great play. Wait, this is still not over, then. Yep, especially with Nasty Plot. Oh, man. This just got really scary. I don't even think Freezing Glare KOs that. Oh, interesting, though. They Trick Room. Huh. I mean, I don't... I would expect, what, Rage Powder? I mistimed my Tera this game. Yeah, I think I Wild Charge to just take the knockout here and protect. And then I'll have Hisuian Arcanine in the end game. But the problem is, I don't think a Choice Band Rock Slide... Oh! Oh, okay. That, I think, was a pretty major misplay. Oh, not necessarily. No. Yeah, I think it's a misplay. Because, like, I guess you can fish for the burn here, but you stalled a turn of your own Trick Room. Well, unfortunately, they miss Iron Hands as well. This endgame was a little sloppy on my end, though, in my opinion. Like, I should have just Ice Terra'd initially. I just didn't know that calc into Sinistcha. If I Ice Terra that turn and Ice Punch, I think the game's just over, because they didn't set a nasty plot up. But yeah, basically, like, the reason why I think this puts my opponent in a challenging spot is because now Iron Hands gets to launch another attack off into Moltres. So I think I'm happy to just Wild Charge here. And Tera Blast. Does this KO? Oh, nice. Okay. Given that it went for that one-hit knockout, like, I think if Sinistcha had Rage Powder, you should just Rage Powder plus go for the Fiery Wrath in that position. And just take the recoil, sacrifice Sinistcha, and then get the Fiery Wrath off. Because then, basically what it would have boiled down to is Hisuian Arcanine single target Choice Band Rock Slide into Moltres, whereas their Fiery Wrath is still spread, because I would have protected the Articuno. But yeah, I think if I could replay this, I would just replay... the turn where I didn't Tera Iron Hands. Like, I think Water Tera Sinistcha is not crazy and unexpected at all. And I just figured, I was like, okay, like, Dragon Tera is really picking up in usage and didn't really cover for the option of it being Water Tera specifically. And so Sinistcha hanging on and Galarian Moltres getting a nasty plot off was really spooky. Alright, we have Como Tyranitar. This is... either the team that won one of the first tournaments in this format. That team notably was kind of like an anti-meta pick with Como and Tyranitar. It is the same 6 Pokemon, I believe. So, but like the first game, I don't want to just assume it's the exact team and then not have it be the team. One way you can actually often check for that, though, which I didn't do in the first game, is just pull up the rental of the initial version of the team and see if the Pokemon are in the same order and the genders, because if anything is not the exact same, then you already know that it's a different team. But this appears to actually be the same 6 in the same order and the same genders, so we'll see if there are any deviations my opponent made. But this team won the Sacramento Regional Championships in October, and I think it's one of the coolest teams in the Regulation E format because it capitalizes off the format being a fairly physically oriented format. Now, one thing that's interesting is that Articuno here does pressure Como, and if Como Steel Terras, Articuno still get into it, but we have to worry about a lot of different offense here. Articuno obviously doesn't love going against Tyranitar either, and it's Psychic Tera Tyranitar. Articuno, Hands, Golden Go. Arcanine. Yeah, I haven't really gotten to play with Rory Moon or Urshifu. I feel like both are okay here. I didn't bring Rory Moon because it's likely Speed Booster Bundle. And that's a really bad matchup for Rory Moon because you just outpace us. So, like, Bundle Flutter, for example. Very explosive lead they could go with. See? What do I want to do here? I have Ice Tera with Hands. This has Extreme Speed. It'd be incredible to get Trick Room up here, but like they could just Shadow Ball this slot. They could Freeze Dry this slot. If I were my opponent, I'd probably just go Fairy Tera, Dazzling Gleam. Okay, this play's a little bit risky on my end. I'm going for Fake Out Trick Room. This is really risky. But given how hyper-offensive their lead is, I think I'm willing to take the risk. But they could just Ghost Tera. Okay, this works. It might be Shadow Ball into Articuno, though. But yeah, this is a really risky play because it risks Ghost Tera bundle. Okay, they Moonblast into hands. Nice. That works. Okay, perfect. Took a big risk there. Ends up paying out decently well, I would say. Really hoping they have Hisuian Arcanine in the back as well. We know you're locked into Moonblast right now. I think I want to just get the knockout on a bundle here. So I'm happy to Freezing Glare it. Freezing Glare close combat. There's no switching in that combination. That gets a guaranteed knockout this turn, I think. Other than, I guess, Bulky Rillaboom. Oh, you could Ghost Tera bundle here. But I think that would be a pretty risky play. It is Rillaboom pivoting in, though, so nicely done. I thought about Wild Charge plus the double up onto Flutter. But this might still get the knockout, honestly. Yeah, that's close. Because the initial version of this team is Miracle Seed Rillaboom, not Assault Vest. Getting a knockout here would be huge. Nice. Okay. Now if you knock out Iron Hands, I get a free switch in into Gold and Go, which is very good for us. This is a game, though, where like turn 1 could have gone terribly wrong for us, right? Like, you could just double up. Like I said, a lot of different plays my opponent could make. Icy Wind plus Shadow Ball, for example, being one. Let's see. They could have Tyranitar, Como, Hisuian Arcanine as the last one. I think I'm happy to just bring out Gold and Go, honestly, because it puts on so much offensive pressure into Flutter Main. Like, I could just Steel Tera, make it rain this turn, and that Flutter slot is left really exposed. Okay, just bring out Bundle back out, which is fine. We also know that Flutter is locked into Moonblast, so it's honestly a pretty good opportunity to Nasty Plot. But with Fake Out cleared, I think it's fine to just attack here, honestly. Freezing Glare. Into Bundle. Steel Tera. Make it rain. Yeah. If I were my opponent, I think your best play would be Protect Bundle, switch Flutter out. But there's no switch-in into a Steel Tera Make It Rain on that team. The only switch-in would be Como post-Tera, but pre-Tera it's taking a ton of damage. I do wonder if I should have just targeted the Flutter slot, because I think Bundle protecting here feels so obvious. It is Como coming out, yeah. But I think it's still fine. I don't know, though. This feels like a game where if I just click the right prediction this turn, I just immediately win. And, like, I feel like Steel Tera Make It Rain should knock out Bundle anyway, right? The Bundle on this team, the initial version of the team, had no bulk. Okay, they don't protect Bundle. Well, I wonder if Freezing Glare just KOs. Oh my gosh, almost did. So, yeah, if I were to replay this turn, I think it's better to just target down the Flutter slot. Because it's not like Bundle really exerts that much pressure anyway, and it covers for a switch. Because one way I could have lost this is Bundle protects, Como switches in, then Como protects. Bundle goes for like a double protect and gets it. That could get a little bit dicey. But this was a game in which I was willing to take a risk because I saw that my opponent was just fairly weak to Trick Room, given the lead. And we successfully got it up. But that's not a play that's going to work most of the time. And certainly not after like a game 1, I feel like, because my opponent can just adjust by going for a target on Articuno. I think the main thing in using this team, as you might be able to tell, is that people just really disrespect Articuno. We can take advantage of that, which is huge. So Como here is bulletproof, so it should Steel Tera in this spot and probably go for Iron Defense. But I've got Flare Blitz from this in the end game, so I think here we just go for the knockout onto Flutter Main this turn. Make sure it can't get a move off while Trick Room is still up. Como protects, okay. I think they needed to probably Steel Tera this turn and click Iron Defense if they wanted any shot at winning. Because the problem is that there's just a Arcanine with Flare Blitz waiting in the back. But yeah, I think Galarian Articuno is just one of those Pokemon that people don't have that much experience fighting against. And this set is pretty unorthodox as well. And so people just don't really know what to do against it. And you know, I didn't even realize Trick Room was a strong option on Galarian Articuno, because most of the Articuno sets I'd featured previously were, I feel like, more offensive. Maybe we'd use Trick Room Articuno at some point. Either way, it is now a 3v1. Como continues to heal up, but you basically have to go for Steel Tera this turn, in my opinion. We're at neutral. Or sorry, -2. It'll be neutral if I switch or Nasty Plot. I think they should Iron Defense this turn. I am happy to just pivot out into Arcanine and Nasty Plot. You could just click Body Press here, but I think you need to Iron Defense. But the reality is, even with Iron Defense and the amount of bulk, if you steal Tera, then Flare Blitz just demolishes you. And yeah, they Tera here. I think you basically have to, right? Otherwise, you just feint to Freezing Glare plus the Make It Rain. Okay. Oh, they actually opt for Iron Head. Interesting. Okay. Well, with that, then the game is definitely over. But I think even if it was Iron Defense, it was fine. Yeah. The thing is, Como does heal back a significant amount with leftovers and the terrain, but we had just knocked out everything else too quickly. So everyone heals back. And Trick Room expires. Perfect. Yep, now that we've baited out the Tera, I can just Flare Blitz. Might as well Nasty Plot again in case they protect, like they do. Yep. Because I'm pretty sure Banded Flare Blitz KOs from this range. So, yeah, I think Como had a shot at pulling off a comeback, but I think the turn that it protected when Fluttermane fainted, and then the Iron Head turn, both of those were turns where it potentially could have gone for an Iron Defense, right? So instead of being at +4 defense, it's at neutral right now. And with that, you just really don't put on offensive pressure. Body Press is actually quite good into our team here, right? But Como does need a couple of boosts to get going. At least one Iron Defense boost. So terrain finally disappears, but now we are +2 with Golden Go. I'm happy to just Flare Blitz into Como and Make It Rain. Okay. This honestly should still do a ton of damage. Single target. That actually just gets the KO. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this Golden Go set is unique, right? Because a lot of people have been using Nasty Plot Golden Go in this format, but they've been using a defensive Tera and a defensive item, right? Like, the difference between Steel Tera Life Orb Nasty Plot versus Dragon Tera Leftovers Nasty Plot is huge in terms of damage output. So, to see it get a one-hit knockout onto something that resists it and has a lot of bulk is wild. Obviously, Como had already taken some chip damage, but yeah. I think in this game, Trick Room was absolutely what won us this game. My opponent wasn't expecting it. We set up Trick Room, and then we were just in such a phenomenal position offensively. So, yeah. Articuno once again pulling up some tricks. What? Mono Ghost, folks. Mono Ghost. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, okay. Okay. These teams scare me the most. It's like, give me a meta team, I know exactly what's going to happen. These teams, I have no idea. Like, Rory Moon with knockoff is going to be very essential here. I think I want to play towards Rory Moon and Urshifu in this one, personally. Rory Moon, Urshifu. I mean, Iron Hands can't close combat a single thing here because of the ghost typing. Yeah, Articuno's still decent, I think. And Golden Go? I feel like I should be bringing Hisu and Arcanine, though. And it feels weird to not bring Golden Go when it pressures with super effective Shadow Ball onto everything. Sorry, Articuno. Just not the game for it, I think. Being weak to every Pokemon on my opponent's team does not do it any favors either. And Freezing Glare is okay, but I'm not sure I really want to set up Trick Room in this game. And if Articuno doesn't want to set up Trick Room and there's not much to pressure with competitive or the Rocky Helmet, it just doesn't feel super valuable. Annihilate Flutter, though. KOs are two Pokemon we're a little bit more familiar with. Is it Speed Booster? Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. Ugh. This is not great. Yeah, I don't like this. Because I think Annihilate gets to just set up so freely against us. It's probably going to be Water Tera as well. Oh my god. I mean, even if I Tailwind, this is still going to be slower than Flutter. So I think what I need to do instead is Protect, Tera this, and Surging Strikes. But they might just switch Flutter out into, like, Sinistra. Or, the fish. The fish. Nice play. Still fine, though. I mean, I can knock off that slot. But my main concern is Annihilate, right? Like, if it has a defensive Tera, Dragon, or... Like, I think Annihilate is so good into us. And Annihilate's fallen out of the meta, right? This Pokemon was really good at the beginning of Scarlet and Violet. Normally the leftovers bulk up sets. Yeah, so, like, I expect this to be a defensive Tera into Water. Maybe Dragon. Yep, it's Dragon. Ugh. I think this thing just gets the bulk up on us. And just set up freely. The booster on Flutter and then, like, baiting out this Tera and then switching out was very smart as well. The good thing is I don't stack up Rage Fist, so, like, that's kind of my plan. Don't give them the opportunity to stack up too quickly, but it's Rocky Helmet as well, so that's a perfect switching by them on turn 1. Fantastically done. That puts us in a pretty tough spot. I think this next turn my play is knock off into Sinistra and then substitute. They're probably going to bulk up here. Maybe Drain Punch. Yeah. Bulk up is just so safe. I don't know. Like, how do I beat bulk up Dragon Tera Annihilate? It's such a hard matchup for this team, isn't it? Annihilate clears this team. Okay. We'll go for knockoff here at least and set up sub. My goal, I think, is to basically target around the Annihilate and then come to an endgame where I have like 2 or 3 different Pokemon all together. But to be honest, I think this is going to be really challenging because essentially, like, I need to knock things out quickly. The idea is knock off sub this turn, Tailwind Surging Strikes next turn, and then go from there. But I need to pick up like 3 knockouts in 3 turns, I think, very quickly. Rage Powder is fine here. Okay, hopefully this gets the KO. Nice. It was a crit, but I don't know if it mattered. Like, Rorimu knockoff is fairly strong. That being said, Sinistra is a really defensive Pokemon, so... No more Rocky Helmet, but obviously you're also just fainted. Urshifu gets sub up, one of the things that makes him more unique on this team. Does this KO us? Okay, nice. There's one thing you can always rely on Jamie Boyt for. It's creating super good EV spreads that are super bulky. The good thing is now that Flutter doesn't have the booster energy, so it's a free Tailwind and Surging Strikes into what's next to Flutter. But that's going to be their final Pokemon, which is Barraskewda. Oy. Great pick by them. I think I need to set up Tailwind right now. The question is whether or not I detect here. The other part of me really wanted to go knockoff and Surging Strikes into Barraskewda. Just try to KO that. And if, like, Annihilate doesn't target Roaring Moon, it would be huge. I think Roaring Moon Protect and Surging Strikes into Barraskewda also works. Oh, that's really bad. I didn't expect it to have Aqua Jet. Oh, boy. Is it bulk upping again? No Tailwind is very bad for us. Oh my god, Dragon Tera is just so good. It's so good. Okay, I will Shadow Ball into you and hope to just get a knockout there. Strike this spot as well. Like, the upside is Rage Fist hasn't really been stacked up. You know what you can do if you're my opponent? You can self Aqua Jet to stack up Rage Fist right now. Like, I would self Aqua Jet into Rage Fist on Golden Go. Because this Annihilate just completely walls me. Normally, the solution against a physical Dragon Tera attacker is to just Roaring Moon, Breaking Swipe, and... Oh, interesting. So that makes me think your choice Barraskewda, not Barraskewda. I call it Barraskewda. Choice Basculegion. Oh, that's not good. Oh. Golden Go was what I needed to beat Annihilate. And now I just stack Rage Fist. Let's see how much this does. I mean, it is Water Tera with the crits. That's not good damage. I wonder if I should have just doubled up onto the Annihilate. Like, just Shadow Ball and Surging Strikes. I mean, okay, hold on. That's actually really respectful damage. Because you're in Extreme Speed Surging Strikes KO range, potentially. Oh, and they Rage Fist into Urshifu. Okay, we might be okay here. I think it's gonna be Scarf Last Respects Basculegion, though. How in the world would I beat Scarf Last Respects? Switch into Arcanine for Intimidate. Shadow Ball this. Okay. This team has given me the most trouble out of all the teams we fought against, and it's because of this Annihilate. Like, the, And I'm activating Define here willingly because I have to decrease Basculegion's attack, I think. Yep. This is KO. Oh my gosh. Okay, with that, then I have no shot. I don't know. I could have... I don't see how I'm winning. Yeah, with it being outspeeding me, I don't see how I was winning this. Man. Basculegion was so good, too. Such a cool team. Really well utilized. Annihilate, big problem for us. Because we rely more on physical attackers. Golden Go's a special attacker, but it's weak to Rage Fist, and if I Tera, it's weak to Drain Punch. And we don't have good damage into Annihilate. Like, Articuno, maybe, but it didn't feel good into the rest of the team, and I think Ghost coverage is just incredible into what we have, right? Like, Roaring Moon is the only thing that can really withstand it. Yeah. Sorry, I should have just forfeited it a few seconds earlier. But yeah, it's so interesting, right? Like, it's... games like this, then you reflect. You're like, okay, I actually... My opponent had a really cool team, and, like, I lost to some things that aren't really meta, like Annihilate and Basculegion, are those things that I really need to consider in the team building process. Annihilate, like... I'm going to go on Peakalytics real quick because I'm curious. Its usage rate is so low right now. Like, I don't think it's even above 1%. That's actually slightly higher, 2.47%. So, it's a little bit higher up there, but it still is so low in terms of, like, you won't expect to see it most of the time, right? And so, that's something that's important, right? Let's say you're considering building for ladder or tournament, and you lose to a Pokemon that is quite strong and feels like it has a really good matchup into you. You then should go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, well... is this a Pokemon I'm going to face really frequently? Because if the answer is yes, and you expect to see it in, like, 25+% of matches, then having a really inherent weakness to it is not good. But in this case, it's a Pokemon that has less than 3% usage rate. Basculegion, even lower, I would imagine. Yeah, it's 1.16% usage rate. But yeah, I mean, my opponent played that really well. I think, like, the Flutter switch alone out on turn 1 was a big deal. And... we just never were going to have a super good time into Annihilate, especially with it being Speed Booster Flutter, because I'd kind of have to make a call on turn 1, and I think that's what makes it tricky. So if I were to replay this game again, I think I would just lean a little bit more into taking risks, and Golden Go, I think, was not utilized properly in this one. It's our best offensive option because of it being a special attacker, and the turn that Basculegion switched out, I wonder if Life Orb, Shadow Ball plus Surging Strikes or Ice Spinner would have actually been a knockout onto Annihilate. Because if so, then it's worth considering. But the problem is I didn't even know the item on Annihilate, right? So, yeah. Either way, though, super cool to go into a mono Ghost team that was so well executed. Okay, we've got a pretty offensive team here. Fire Ogre Pond, Flutter, Urshifu, Heatran, Iron Hands, and Torn. Some more Tornadus comps. What do we want to do? No Intimidate. They could potentially activate Competitive from Articuno from Torn. I mean, Trick Room seems like a viable angle here with Articuno. Rocky Helmet's also obviously good against Water Urshifu. Specs Flutter is pretty scary. Not knowing the item on Torn is also quite scary, I think. I want to lead Articuno. I'm thinking Articuno Urshifu, honestly. Iron Hands. And Hisuian Arcanine. Basically, my problem here is if I go with Roaring Moon, yeah, I can set up Tailwind, but they have Prankster Tailwind, right? So they'll just be faster, and their team is faster than us. So if I match Tailwinds, it doesn't matter, because they're just going to outpace us. Golden Goal is interesting, but it is not easy to set up in this. They have Fire Ogre Pond. They have Flutter Mane. It's just going to be Torn Urshifu. Oh, it's Dark Urshifu. Okay. This is what I want to do, I think. Trick Room and Surging Strikes. I think I have to do this because otherwise Wicked Blow just crushes me. But there are a lot of options. They could go Bleak Wind, Wicked Blow into either slot right now. Bleak Wind, Close Combat onto Urshifu. Okay. Okay. This is what I mean. People don't respect Articuno. I don't think people understand that it's Trick Room user. Which I totally understand because that's not something I really was super wary of. But I think it's going to be nearly impossible for my opponent to come back from this one. So now we just have to make sure that we take this lead and execute it as much as we can. But that was like the dream turn, basically, right? Yeah, it's a nightmare for my opponent. I'm going to Freezing Glare and Surging Strikes into Torn now. Nice. They Sucker Punch Articuno. You eat up Rocky Helmet damage. Now we should just knock out Torn. It might be Rocky Helmet here. Let's see. Nope. Beautiful. Perfect. And we double up onto it just to make sure it can't click Bleak Wind Storm. Yeah, people just don't respect Articuno. And it looks so dang good if it just gets one really solid turn off because competitive gets activated or you set up Trick Room. We'll bring out Iron Hands. That's fine. We've got Hisuian Arcanine, which is great. I would like to just Terra Blast. Oh wait, hold on. Let's think this through. They could Wild Charge just straight into Urshifu right now. I don't mind going for Terra Blast on an Urshifu and then pivoting in Hisuian Arcanine on my end. If Urshifu goes for another Sucker Punch, then you just feint. I think detecting here on their end makes some sense, but it's fine because then I pivot in Arcanine safely. And if you let me knock out your Urshifu this turn, then your Iron Hands is just stuck at -1 for the rest of the game. Okay, they go for Fake Out. That makes sense. But they eat up Rocky Helmet damage. And Sucker Punch. Like, Articuno is putting in so much work. It set up Trick Room. Got 2 Rocky Helmets off into the Urshifu. Helped knock out the Tornadus. Got Rocky Helmet and Iron Hands as well. Like, oh my goodness. This is just incredible. And Flutter's their last one. Yeah, this feels very over at this point. Unless you get a crit onto Arcanine specifically. We can just Flare Blitz the Flutter. I'm happy to just Freezing Glare and Flare Blitz here. With Iron Hands being at -1, not really a huge threat. And there's still 2 turns of Trick Room. So even if you have Protect Flutter here and you knock out the Articuno, then Urshifu just comes out and clicks Surging Strikes on the Flutter. This is why Trick Room is a really nice call on the Articuno, right? It is able to set up in front of Tailwind, and once again, I think a lot of people just don't even realize Articuno can Trick Room in the first place. It gives you such a major advantage. No Tera or Protects, okay. So get Glare off into the Flutter. Honestly did really good damage there, almost 50%. Flare Blitz KOs that. Excellent. I think the Detect on Urshifu was really shocking to me, because I don't think it was actually at that much risk, but I guess they were worried about like close combat from Urshifu probably on my end, which is fair, but Detect doesn't protect against that. So you're only detecting to save yourself from Articuno, and what is Articuno going to do that really threatens you? I'm not sure, really. Last turn of Trick Room. We can just go for Freezing Glare here, switch Suit Arcanine out in Iron Hands. Get another Intimidate off. I mean, Iron Hands can't pull off a comeback 1v4, obviously. I probably could just stayed in with the Suit Arcanine, but no reason to not cycle in for Intimidate. Articuno finally faints, but got more than enough value in this game. And now we just bring the Urshifu out, and we can just go Fake Out Surging Strikes. I guess I can bring Arcanine out here, too. Yeah, maybe Arcanine makes more sense, just because we get a second Intimidate off, but there's no world in which Iron Hands pulls this off ever. Like, there's just too many resources to deal with. They still have their Tera, and like Belly Drum is one interesting option you could have, but they're not going to have it on this set because we already saw. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that with 100% confidence, but I'd be shocked if they had Belly Drum here. They finally go for Tera. I expect this to be a defensive Tera, Water Fire. I haven't seen Dragon Tera on hands really too much, but I guess that could work. Yeah, it's going to be Water. That's fine. Like, by committing to Water Tera, now Wild Charge is just super effective, and you're at -2 attack, so this is what I mean by, like, too many resources are depleted, so the Tera just doesn't really save you at this point. Okay, Fake Out Flare Blitz. Even Flare Blitz does so much there, wow. Almost gets... I wonder if another one gets the KO. It's actually kind of close. Either way, just Flare Blitz and Wild Charge. Can Arcanine get it? Aw, so close. But our Iron Hands is still plenty healthy, so yeah, like you're never really going to get a KO. And even if you like Drain Punch crit, you wouldn't heal back enough, but we also have the faster hand, so that's just a knockout. I mean, this game was just like turn 1 was absolutely huge, right? Like I got so much unexpected damage onto the Urshifu slot and managed to set up Trick Room. I actually felt pretty good about the position. The main thing I was worried about was like Taunt coming out from Tornadus, right? If they go like Wicked Blow Taunt, it's still not the worst trade because I do so much damage onto their Urshifu, but then Trick Room doesn't get set up, right? And then the game looks a little bit differently. But if you get Trick Room up when your opponent Tailwinds, it's just like the dream scenario, right? Because you're just going to guarantee outpace everything for a couple turns. I guess I shouldn't say 100% guarantee, but very likely. And then you can just extend that advantage, and that's what we were able to do. So, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much as always for joining me. This team is really fun, and I'm just glad to showcase how underrated Galarian Articuno in particular is. I think it put in a lot of work between both offense and defense throughout the course of this episode. We saw it sweep teams with a competitive boost. We saw it set up Trick Room and enable the rest of the team. We saw it have Rocky Helmet activated in order to beat opposing Urshifus as well. So I feel like I got to showcase all of what makes this Articuno set so unique and so strong. So huge thanks to Jamie for building and sharing the team, and thanks to you all as always for watching. Leave a like or subscribe to the channel if you enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.